Hi, I'm here with a little free motion exercise for you today. I've been practicing my free motion and came up with a really nifty exercise, and think it'll make it easier for those of us who are trying to get a handle on this. A lot of times it's hard to figure out the movement and the speed and trying to get everything right. So we're going to use some muscle memory we already have. They talk a lot about in free motion to develop muscle memory. They have you trace, they want you to draw and draw and draw to practice before you actually sew it. Well, we're going to do a little shortcut. We're going to use our cursive writing. Muscle memory we already have. Everybody knows how to write their name without even thinking about it, so that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to change the view on the camera and show you exactly what we're going to do. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. Now, if you notice, and let me move this a little bit so you can see better. It's pretty cool because it looks really straight. You got, everything looks nice and tidy, and I'll show you how I did that. I did this for a 6.5 inch square. So I took some muslin, and that's a 6.5 inch square, and then the batting is slightly bigger than that, and then there's another piece of muslin for the backing that's slightly bigger than that. So what's nice about this is that you can use small pieces to practice, and that makes it a little bit easier too to practice. So work in small chunks and it won't be so intimidating. So the way I did this is I took a piece of paper the same size as the top piece of muslin, and I made a little sketch here. Remember in grade school when we were learning to do our cursive writing, and we had these lines that we had to draw our letters in? Well, that's basically what I did for this, and that's what makes it so cool, because you can write and get it really neat. So here's an example of what I did on the paper, and I messed around with this to get the spacing the way I want it. But basically what I've got here is a 2-inch strip right here, a 1-inch strip here, and a 1-inch strip up here. And then I just adjusted the spacing this way, the way I wanted it. So then I took a piece of muslin, and I used a water-soluble marker, but for this, you can't see it real good. So what I'm going to use here is I'm going to use a Crayola washable marker. I've been wanting to experiment with those anyway, so I'm going to use that to show you how I drew the lines. So I've got my example here. Basically, you measure 2 inches from the bottom of the paper and draw a line, then 1.5 inches to draw the dotted line, then 1 inch to draw the other solid line. And like I said, this is for a 6.5 inch square. So, hi Sharon, I just saw you there. Hi Marie. So anyway, you can adjust this for a different size if you want to. So I'm going to take my ruler, and I'm going to measure 2 inches from the bottom of the muslin. And I'm going to draw my line. And I'm going to move this down to 1.5. And I'm going to draw my dotted line. Then I'm going to measure down to 1 inch and draw my other solid line. So that's the bottom one. Now for these two, I'm going to flip it around just because the measurements are easier, because if you look at this line is 4 inches from that edge. the other way you got like a 1/5 or a 1/7 of an 1/8 inch thing. So I'm going to flip this around. And I'm going to do 4 inches from the bottom of this, from this edge. Scoot it down to 3.5. No, take that back to 3 inches. We're doing the wider one. I'm going to draw my dotted line. Scoot down another inch. Draw my solid line. Then I'm going to scoot down another 1/2 inch and make my second, the skinny one here, I'm going to make a second one down here. So my solid line, scoot down another 1/2 inch, draw my dotted line, scoot down another 1/2 inch, and draw another solid line. So now I've got this set up to sew. Now what I did for this one is I went ahead and used my pen and wrote on the lines. So I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to use a different word. I'm going to use the word joy. I like that word. So I'm going to use the word joy. And I'm just going to draw this on here. Now remember, I used a water-soluble pen, and I'm kind of spacing this out. So it's the whole idea is that when you're done sewing this, it's going to wash out and you won't see it. You won't see the writing. Okay, now when you do something with a dot like that, you can either do a little bit of stitching there, or you could do a hand stitching, you could put a bead, anything like that. So now I'm going to draw the big okay, and then I'm going to draw the small one again, just like grade school. Who would have thought that grade school, we'd go back to grade school to do our quilting, right? And I'm just spacing this out in a way that I like. Now, one thing that will make this easier is if you have it probably sitting on the batting. I've just got it sitting on the table here. But if you have it on the batting, it might sit still nicer. So now I'm going to take this to the machine. And I'm going to free motion this. And like I said, this is for practice, so my free motion is not fantastic, but I wanted to practice. So hopefully you can see this okay. Now, like I said, I used, when I did this, when I did my first one, this is what I used. I used the water-soluble pen. For this one, I'm using the marker because it shows up better, but you can see, I think you can see, I've got some markers showing on my hand there because it's water-soluble, it'll do that. So, got this all ready. I'm going to start stitching. And what's nice about this is because you already have the muscle memory, you don't have to think so much about moving, where you're moving your free motion. You just have to think about how fast you're going, how fast you're moving your fabric, and then how fast your needle is going. So it kind of, instead of trying to think about 3 things at once, you're only thinking about 2. Now there's 2 ways you could do this. I took a couple really small stitches to end this word, and then I'll just jump to the next word. But you could also just go along the bottom line and just keep sewing, and I'll do that on the bottom one. So for this one, I'm just going to go ahead and start a couple small stitches, and then I'm going to keep going. Just like when we were in grade school. Okay, so now I've got the first two words stitched on there. When I wash this out, all you'll see are the words, just like this. So this is kind of cool if you wanted to do some blocks. You could practice your free motion and make these blocks and put these in a quilt. So now I'm going to show you, I guess I'll go ahead and do this one here. It'll just take just a minute. So I'm going to start a couple small stitches and just go ahead and follow the line. And another thing too is you don't have to go fast. I know that when I've watched other people free motion, they go really fast. I have found that I work better if I just go slow, that I'm more comfortable. So pick a speed you are comfortable at, and don't worry about what anybody else is doing. Okay, there's that one. And on this last one, I'm going to connect the words. Just to show you what you can do. Okay, so I'm going to get up to this line here, and instead of going up like I wrote it, I'm going to just go along the line and go on to the next word. In fact, I'm just going to kind of go up a little bit just to make it look pretty, and then come back down and go back up here. And then finish my word. Okay, so hopefully you can see this. You can see where I curved and continued into the next word. So you can do it that way, or you can do it up here like I did where you actually separated the words. Now, what if you don't want to be that picky? What if you don't want to have to take the time to draw the lines? You don't have to. Because it's cursive writing and because it's already muscle memory, you can do whatever you want. So I'm going to take my marker here and I'm going to just write words wherever. So I'm going to put be happy. And then over here I'll put be kind. So you can see I'm not doing straight lines. I'm just writing whatever. And so now I'll stitch those. if I can get my thread to cooperate. Oops. There we go. All right, so here's another practice piece I got going. And I'm just gonna sew. So now you can actually just be free about this. You could make the words any size you want. You can make them go straight. You can make them go at a slant. And one thing I thought would be really nice is to do a quilt that would be inspirational words. All inspirational words. Make different blocks. And two, if you're not right on the line when you're sewing, like I'm not exactly on the line, it's not going to matter because you're going to wash this out and nobody will be the wiser. It's just a nice exercise that makes it a little bit easier on your brain, and you can get your free motion practice in there. And if you go the wrong way, like I just did a minute ago, I just realized I did that. I did my P the wrong way. No one knows. No one knows. You just keep going. It's very forgiving. That's what's really nice about it. It's very forgiving. So then I'll do a couple of quick stitches. Cut my thread. And then I would just go on to the next one. So just fill it up with words. It's just what I thought would be a nice exercise for practicing your free motion. You can use your muslin scraps, your batting scraps, and let me come back here and face you. There we go. So it's just a nice, easy free motion exercise. Something that if it turns out great, you could actually make it into squares and put it in a quilt. If it doesn't, you can toss it, nobody knows. And like I said, it's already got that muscle memory. We all know how to write our name. That's another thing you could do is just practice your name. You don't even have to think about it. And then as you get comfortable, you can move on and do harder stuff and start doing your swirls and feathers and whatever you want to do. So, Sharon, did you set your machine at a slower speed? Nope, I did not. This machine doesn't have a speed control. That's just the speed I like to go at. Like I said, you know, I'm more comfortable going slower. I feel like I have better results when I go a little slower. So you just have to play around with it and pick something that works for you. I know some people like to go really fast. I can't do well when I go fast. I'm just not that good at it. So this is for practice, and hopefully, you know, it's something that you can try out and enjoy, and let me know what you think. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you another time. Good night.